Vengeance has never looked this good.
Gale Force eSports is one game away from getting a clean 3-0 victory over Superstars. But Superstars, what are they going to do to get a point on the board? What has to happen, Dread?
I mean, first step is not giving Gale Force a draft that they already knew they wanted to run in the past. You know, we saw the attempt for the answer, wasn't really an answer. So now it's making sure you force them to mix up the drafts, and next is just going to be playing out of your minds. I mean, Gale Force is just, in my opinion, right now, that much better of a team to where you just got to have a little luck and faith and just like, well, hopefully we can just outperform them, because right now Gale Force isn't giving much up.
Yeah, our big question last week was who comes back from the break looking strong and who comes back from the break maybe a little rusty, and Gale Force eSports has been one of the strongest teams to come back from the break, along with Tempo Storm. Let's see if this map can change some things, though, as we head back in to the Battleground pool of HGC. Gale Force eSports picking Tomb. I don't know if I have ever seen them pick Tomb before.
They're mixing things up. You know, Gale Force has put in the work, and it's showing here for part number 2. Tomb of the Spider Queen. I just can't help but feel like we're going to see like another crazy strategy out from them. You know, that's all I expect for some reason. I don't know why. It's not a part of their history or anything. You can tell that they're trying to learn and expand their approach to the game, and I feel like now pulling into a map that's less common for them is, again, I mean, Superstars is a perfect team to test the waters on. If you feel like you're ahead at all and like you weren't afraid of showing a strategy and testing it out, like how good is this? We've been running it. Superstars is a perfect team to be like right in the middle of like, it will work. If it's decent, it should be successful. But if it's not, they're good enough to where they'll just be like, no, what was that? Just get out of here.
Especially now that they're up 2 games in this series.
Yeah,
so there's enough of a buffer.
You just be like, we want to try that Tomb strategy and be like, all right, we're picking Tomb. And then you just go.
It also may be a throw-off for Superstars too, because obviously the last game, Superstars knew what draft was coming. They just didn't quite execute in a way to be able to stop it. But the difference is now, like I said, I don't know if I've ever seen Gale Force pick Tomb. Neither of these teams played Tomb last week. So it just might be another way of trying to make sure that Superstars can't start to figure Gale Force out in any way.
Going to Zarya. Do we see the Vala pickup here for Gale Force to be able to rid of that Vala duo? Otherwise, you can expect Superstars is going to work into some form of Zarya, Ariel plus the battery. It's been a go-to strategy for them and North America in all of Part 1. Still big in Korea and China even, having that kind of trifecta of heroes. What else can we expect out of them with the Malfurion picked up? Most North American teams haven't. Most haven't this high?
I think Gale Force will, though. They've been one of the teams playing Lucio the most.
Yeah, which makes me excited. It's just, this is a perfect example of like how good is Lucio, right? Even with a mouth ban that high up, a lot of the teams so far in HGC and North America have let it go through. And double support right out the gates, denying the Ariel Zarya strategy by just removing both.
Those two together also.
Yeah, are one of the most terrifying. But this is not the map to do that. If Gale Force eSports falls far enough behind, there is not, like, they could fall so far behind that they don't have enough macro. Like, you can get away with the double warrior, double support strategy on maps where you have to fight around the objective, and the objective is won through the fighting. But most of the time on Tomb, it's not the case. It's way more about skirmishing and pressure outward, which double support and double warrior both struggle into. It's like one of the, I want to say it's one of the worst maps to be able to run this, because if they pull ahead, they can zone off of the turn-in so easy. Like, it's just like, well, that's game when you get too big of an advantage in that sense. So, but if both teams don't make colossal mistakes and heavy emphasis is put on the macro game, like even a Gul'dan, there you go, rotation coming out from Superstars here, that is, again, them making changes to be able to deal with, you know, the map and what their opponents are busting out, and it would pay off better even this game than the last one. Because the last one, I mean, let's be honest here, that is a absurdly hard strategy to understand. Double warrior, double support isn't. You just don't win the fight.
Is there any chance that there's not going to be a double warrior?
It is possible because of, again, the emphasis onto we then are committing too much into team fighting, not enough into wave clear. and it makes more sense to move into a double backline solo warrior.
Yeah, in which case Superstars may have sniffed this out already. Getting 2 backliners, they could ban another one and try to deny as many backliners that would fit really well with this strategy. But Gale Force eSports ran double support, double warrior on Infernal Shrines. Again, that's where everyone is fighting together all at the same place. There's the 2 turn-in points here.
Yeah, like Infernal and Sky Temple are 2 maps where I would say that kind of strategy is like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, you know? What else are you going to do? Split push and like maybe get a fort like on both of those maps? Late game, Infernal Shrines works way different than Sky, but for the most part, yeah, those are the go-to maps for that. Skirmishing Towers is another one.
Love this.
Where you can get away with it. Yeah, so it bans out the Vala. The Gul'dan is already picked up. And that only leaves like Lunara out of those, you know, big high number damage dealers that, you know, Superstars, or excuse me, that Gale Force wants. So Superstars here with their new drafters. We heard Sray talking about having Hosty move over the drafting, which Sray has drafted on, I think, every team he's played on, period. So the fact that they, you know, they're mixing things up and changing that role may be showing a bit here in this draft.
It makes me happy too because we've talked about the 3 core members of Superstars who have been together for so long, Sray, Faye, and Iacona, and we wondered where the value would be in bringing in Hosty and Goku. So now we're seeing it with Hosty. He's flexible. He's been flexing into whatever he needs to, sometimes a 3rd warrior, sometimes a range, now drafting too. And he does pay attention to a lot of regions to be able to offer that, Sray said, even more than himself. And then Goku, we've already seen, right, the playmaking that he brings in is, it's very good, especially in synergized, in synchrony with Sray.
So now Superstars, they've got to pick up their support. And if they want to go with another warrior, now is going to be the time with all the supports already receiving a lot of focus.
I'm just laughing at the holiday lights of Lunara. They keep changing.
I actually didn't know that on the skin. That's actually pretty neat.
It's a celebration.
Does it go all the season colors? No, they're kind of mixed up. I was excited for a moment if they just cycled through the seasons. Too good. I guess it is a Christmas skin, so it's a little unfair to make it all seasonally. But I don't know. I just all I think of when I see her default
Winter
pins.
Veil.
Yeah, Winter Veil.
Last 2 picks.
Karzim won. Oh man, I thought for sure it would be the Karzim into
That's
Lunara.
Kona.
Into a Lunara though? Man, I would have taken that over the Rhaegar all day. Muradin pick up here with all the warriors focused on. Surprised that wasn't an Arthas, but showing they don't want the Arthas into the style of composition. Do we see Gale Force look to pick it up, committing the double support, double warrior, or in fact another backline? Look at Tychus. He's still up. I ideally from Superstars would have liked to see Karzim Tyrael, I think, in that rotation. Would have been 10 out of 10 for me. The team fighting is still good enough and cross-supporting on everything to where it's insanely terrifying to deal with in fights. Just enough when it comes to macro play with the Gul'dan, the Zarya, and then having Tyrael be a solid 1v1er.
Yeah, but Rhaegar is a 12 out of 10 doggo.
He is.
And he's a favorite of Iacona's. Akaface too, but Iacona has been playing him for forever. All right, we're doing it. We're in there. Double support, double warrior. In game number 3 for Gale Force eSports.
So Superstars has to get a turn-in, like 2 turn-in level lead right now is like what they need. They can get away with it into the comp that we see GFE draft because it is so little wave clear. It is only got Lunara. She doesn't have very good wave clear on her own, but they're scary to fight into. So avoid that fight. Look to just wave clear, wave clear, wave clear, get the first turn in, abuse the Zarya Gul'dan factor, siege up, take half a fort, stack the next one, fort and a half after that. And when they get that big of a lead, they should be far enough ahead that the double warrior, double support is not impossible to fight into. But if that works the other way, and Gale Force is the team to get even a level ahead after the first turn in, I really think that they are just that much better than Superstars, mixed with having such an insanely forgiving composition that if they won the macro game early on in a world where there's no way they should, suddenly this game gets really out of control really fast, and it doesn't look close.
Yeah, whoever is soloing for Superstars needs to make sure that they're on their A game, because Gale Force eSports so far has been able to get a lot of picks on members of Superstars who have been out, and that has enabled them to continue to catapult ahead of Superstars. So if this is dependent on Superstars getting ahead in the early game, hopefully it's something that they feel comfortable with, given that before, early in part 1, Superstars had to be ahead in the early game where they just couldn't quite function versus their opponents. Yeah,
this series for drafting has been one of my favorites. I like the Gale Force versus Team 8. Just the way that it's kind of worked out, the thought processes from the teams and the direction they've moved it. But Gale Force, I think, sealed the deal. They've got about 2 different ways that they're going to approach the game for the rest of part 2. Is whether any team has the answer to stop them.
Well, let's waste no more time. Can Superstars stop Gale Force this game? We'll find out on Tomb the Spider Queen.
Man, I am going to be such a sad panda if Superstars doesn't at least put up a really good game here, because I think they have... Gale Force has a lot of what they want, but I don't think it works on the map well enough to justify it. The Johanna Lunar wave clear is all that they have. I guess they've got Arthas too, which is pretty good, but I think Superstars have the tools here in this game with that Gul'dan to be able to pressure out a lot. It is going to be Q build Gul'dan.
And Greymane.
And Greymane.
And to the limit for Zarya.
Isn't that
Feel the Heat? Sorry, Feel the Heat. I always mess those two up.
No, it's all names. Good. It's just weird when I correct you on a talent. It usually means I'm wrong, so I just don't say it. I'm just like, I'm pretty sure that's Feel the Heat, and you're like, oh, well, actually, Feel the Heat was adjusted in patch
my voice? Is that how my voice
3.432, and it was nerfed by 10% damage, Dread. You're an idiot. You should know that.
Am I the stats calculator for Leroy Jenkins?
I mean, you are.
Is that how you see me?
Yeah. When it comes to the talents, yeah, it's just, you know.
Well, thank you.
You're like, can you tell me the adjustments in the entire lifespan history of the color of Lunara's nature colon?
Go. I can do that.
Yeah, hit me with it. Just so everybody at home can understand why I drop these dank memes. I don't think they understand how hardcore you are in some talents.
You actually want to hear?
Hey, give me the life lessons you've learned through Lunara's nature culling and the colors.
Well, it's the same with the 1 and the 7. They keep switching back and forth, but at one point, for whatever reason, Nature's Culling switched to being the green talent, which everyone got used to, and we're picking the wrong ones. And then he's just sitting there laughing at me. And then finally they switched it when they were making the big switch with talents, where they moved everything that could possibly be green that had lifesteal or healing back. So that's when they switched it. And that was very recent.
It was. They decided to give him the old...
Talents history with Gilly.
The old bamboozle there, Gilly.
Anyway, Feel the Heat.
Feel the Heat. One of my favorite talents, level 1 on Zarya. Fan with a big Howling Blast. That damage is not going to get the kill onto Faye, though. Hosey with the shields. Is there any other talent you'd like to give us a lesson over? Because there's been a lot you've been tilted over. I just want everybody to realize that you are the world's biggest geek.
Okay, so there are some talents that have similar enough names, or like names that are similar to abilities.
Yeah, okay.
So there's like Earth Shield and Earthen Shield. There's Force of Will, which is both a Medivh ability, but then also a level 20 Artanis talent. There are 3 different shield batteries as of Probius coming out. And there's these weird ones like Crippling Slam, Furious Blow. Like Cho'Gall has one, Butcher has one, Sonya has one. Nobody ever takes them, really. And Samuro has one, too.
Anything else?
What's been happening in this game, Dre?
You know, there's been a lot of rotations. Not too much outside of that. Really, it's just been very patient. Superstars is committed to the 4. They are pulling ahead and winning the 4-man, as you would kind of expect, but in a weird way, by setting Gul'dan and Greymane as the solos and then running a 3-1-3, kind of babying what happens in between. And Gale Force is just trying to make up for the fact that they picked up a skirmishing composition. Really, you know, they're just trying to stop the bleeding. And so far it's working out. The fact that only 39 gems have been turned in for Superstars. Ideally, they need like a turn in and a half before getting that turn in. Otherwise, Gale Force, because of how gems and experience and time, Equinox is going to be fine. Oh, Icona, Ripperoni, and Pepperoni. That's going to be the first kill of the game. Howling Blast flank from Fan. And that's enough gems available for Gale Force eSports to get a turn in if Posty lets them get the channel.
There was one. Now Akaface and Equinox can zone. Akaface can look for the boops. Crowan also has his detainment strike.
Oh, Aka. I thought there might be enough follow-up there. But no, they're going to play it more passively here. Arthas, Greymane in their 1v1 just doing their thing. Nobody pulling too far ahead. Stray is out a bit far. He realizes it. Throws a Stormbolt. Condemned, but no follow-up damage behind. Good. Good corruption coming out from Faye, deterring the advancement of Gale Force eSports. But Superstars is not winning the laning phase. Second game in a row that they drafted neglect towards the team fight and still were yet to be successful in the laning phase.
That was an awesome detainment strike. Almost spelled the end of Goku's life. But with all the damage that Gale Force has consistently put out, Superstars have always had to go back and tap, go back and reset. And this time, it is netted Web Weavers for Gale Force. And the first Web Weaver phase, as we talked about, is hugely important in this game.
Yeah, it is going to set Superstars either miles ahead or behind. But right now it's looking good. The fact that they have this camp up on mid, Stray took a bit too much damage there, so they won't be able to, you know, kind of step up and rid of it as fast as they would like. But if they can remove these without losing too much, wow, that corruption, without losing too much damage there, they should be totally fine. It's just about how fast can they clear of these, and Gale Force is just pretty much forfeiting top. Mid's going to be a pretty safe clear as well. And bottom, that is where we're going to see Gale Force get a front wall and a half.
This is risky for Goku. Dives in, jumps out, does not want to get hit by the purple wave of the Web Weaver. Throws out a cocktail, hesitant to see if anyone is going to rotate in. Web Weaver in mid has started to do some damage, took out towers, but this has been a nice hold for Superstars. They only lost towers. They may be able to get a kill on Fan. Goku's trying to bait it.
There's going to be the shield and the heals. Fan dropping the slow. Crow in there for the healing. Oh man, he's in a spot for a detainment strike. Fan goes down, but Goku didn't get punished here as he is still barely alive, dancing over the backline of Gale Force eSports. This is perfect. Superstars could not have asked for a better position here after that turn-in. The fact that they're even in experience, they have, again, enough to get a turn-in, but then after the entire turn-in ends, they're going to be close to their next one. They can force the 10 spike, get a secondary turn-in, and then just be very aggressive. Could be their game.
Now to the limit grab. That was a super fast closeout of Pursuit of Flame.
Yeah, it was from Faye.
Yeah.
Speaking of, just getting a little bit of damage down here. 4-6 away. Channel's going to happen by Greymane. But no zoning here from Gale Force. Again, just kind of trying to goaltend it out. Make sure that nobody gets a free turn-in.
Gale Force are getting really close if they can just get the turn-in. They have their gyms spread out just about everywhere, though, except on Fan. He's a pretty good zoner. Oh, Lunara gets caught, blown up with all the damage that Superstars can deal. And that may be the start of their turn-in, especially as they're about to hit heroic abilities.
Yeah, the snowball is about to begin. How much can Superstars gain off of this, though? There's going to be the first pick, and then the Web Weavers. Expulsion zone is going to be casually walked through. But it did force Iron Skin. 10 is now picked up here for Gale Force eSports. Heroics are going to be what you would expect for everyone.
No reverse amp. I think that was reverse amp last time.
No, it was still sound barrier.
Okay,
We're
so
yet to see a
Aegis.
reverse amp in North America, at least so far.
Thornwood Vine for Lunara.
Still so torn on Thornwood Vine versus the Leaping Strike.
I understood it on Braxis, but you definitely want someone who can execute. I guess that maybe comes down to Fan. He does have Army so that he can be more sustainable in the back.
I think the argument is made that, well, if her damage output is high enough and long enough, then with a double warrior, double support, you don't need an executioner. You just need your health bars higher than your opponents.
Okay.
And
your
she
opponents
enables
back
that.
off.
And then plus you need to be able to make, you know, Crowan that much more terrifying in a double support.
Sound barrier. Army of the Dead too. Faye is going to get healed back up. buys some time with Horrify, but Fan jumps right back on top of 2 targets, slowing them down, rooting them as well with Howling Blast.
Sray is the only one who can't die here. He gets out, so he's going to be fine, just based on his gem count.
Yeah.
That's a winning trade right now for Superstars, actually losing that one person. Again, Gale Force knows they have an insanely good teamfight composition, but they have enough for a secondary turn-in, and they're drawing aggro on top. If we can see a turn-in for Superstars, the turn-in's worth more than that boss. I don't say that very often, but this boss is more of a flashy play than a good one on the side of Superstars. They just have Gale Force. They have nothing to do other than try and stack that with the turn-in, and the fact that they didn't look for the turn-in early. It's very greedy. Superstars now figure it out, and they're going to try and force the turn-in. That might have been too little too late, though.
They're in the bottom, so nobody can run in
so
from
slow.
Gale Force,
No. Oh, my fail fish.
Oh, no!
That's what I was talking about. They
Yeah,
were
no,
so
I
slow.
saw it, but I just believed.
You just believed in the channel time?
Oh, that's rough. That is rough for Superstars. They just didn't get there in time.
Yeah, it's just not understanding where your opponents are at that point in time and then putting you in a position where you respond too slow. Okay, so one thing that's important to note is if this was 16 minutes into the game, then that trade-off would be a lot riskier. I would want Superstars to not turn in. The reason why I want Superstars to turn in on this one is just based on the fact that not only would it be a double stack of pressure into a non-sieging composition, which you have the boss that they obviously had to respond to, which now leads to the free fort, then they can cycle bottom if they want to, or just keep them busy on mid. Anything can happen at this point in time.
Blessed Shield hit a few.
Sound Barrier.
Sound Barrier 2. Sray with Avatar and Ancestral Healing makes it through A-OK. That won't be the case for Hosty. He has 1 shield for himself and gets back again. Superstars are hanging in, but they're not responding to bottom, which is starting to siege down that final fort. Not even final fort, there's still the top fort too, but more structures.
I think this really does show the weakness of Gale Force's draft, though, and kind of the criticism I had towards running a double warrior, double support on Tomb is even with 2 turn-ins, winning most of the fights, and a boss, they have netted less structural damage than Superstars in this game. Like, when you really do take a step back and you think about that, you're like, how? Right? But again, it's just they're good at fighting, and that's where it stops. They don't provide anything else to the actual map itself or any sieging, any part of the mechanic. It's just we win the fight and we get the byproduct, reap the rewards afterwards is what this comp's philosophy is. Blessed Shield, he still has Dwarf Toss. No, but it's
Poison.
Not to the direction of a healer.
Yeah, Hosty had shield.
Got it in time, so keeping them busy is what Superstars wants to do, while mid and top web weavers kind of wreak havoc. Oh man, cleanse coming out from Iacona. Horrify going to be used too. A lot of damage on Equinox, but that double support. So you just keep them busy here. You make sure that Gale Force does not get a free clear to the other lanes, because you do not win the fight, but you don't want them to just abuse the fact that they can bully you. So this is perfect. Superstar moves up, and then they walk away. And you keep this up.
As long as they can disengage, though.
Yeah.
Horrify is already down, Sound Barrier, and Gale Force eSports, with that fort being really low, feel like they might be able to just get a kill.
Now they just move up. You legitimately just keep them distracted the entire time. Look at Mikey Doll's looking at me. That's a win. And you try and aggress forward. That is what Superstars has to do. I just feel like now they might be in a position to where they're too late.
Well, they are going to get the fort on bottom.
They've just made it late game enough to where Gale Force can bank on teamfights carrying them. Typically, you can't do that on Tomb. Like, how often do we see strategies that are banked on, like, I'm looking for the 20, and then you just lose levels 1 through 9 so ridiculously hard that you never have an opportunity to come back. But Gale Force, for the first 12 minutes between all the control that they've had and only the 2 picks, have miraculously found themselves in a position where they're still in this game, where I would have expected, Superstars to just dominate.
Watch Fan. He's looking at a flank right now, gets spotted from Stray. Nice cleanse to stop Faye from getting hit from that, but his Fan's too late. He is on everyone from Superstars, or Superstars are too late. They're going to have to fight in this.
Yeah, and they realize that. They're looking to turn for now, but again, you don't want to face them whenever they press their R buttons. Goku is the disengage. Saray goes out. Blessed Shield lands.
That expulsion
Equinox.
zone was awesome.
That condemn was huge as well, but no follow-up damage. Sound barrier is going to be used, but not needed considering the weakness of that fort. So that's a cooldown down. Superstars here is doing a lot of things right. I feel like they're, you know, their first early turn-in plays, we talked about it, maybe were questionable, but right now they're taking what has been a staple in North America and Europe right now. This draft, the double warrior, double support, what is considered one of the top tier strategies, and not making it look too good. They're playing it very well against this.
Yeah, they have the right amount of going back in, backing off. I really thought they were gonna have to fully take the fight, but good expulsion zone from Hosty. And thankfully, that's a low cooldown. So as long as Hosty keeps landing those, it buys time for the team to back out. And as long as Saray is up in the front as that Muradin, he can get slowdowns and then Dwarf Toss out.
So they're going to move up here. A lot of damage on the Equinox, stunned out. He pops the Avatar. Ancestral will connect. There's going to be a Horrify splitting off the two members. But Fan says, thank you for the free trip onto your backline. Uses that Frozen Tempest. Hosty is on the retreat. Saray is still just trying to zone everyone away, being pay attention to me, do not kill my team.
Oh, Detainment Strike as he was trying to run away.
But his 13 just hit 4 members, healing him for 20% there. All right, so the Web Weaver's on top and bottom, still full HP. Mid is going to fall, and nobody on the side of Superstar is actually going for a full back here, so they are risking it all here at this mid keep.
A lot of damage hits the backliners of Goku and Faye. They're going to run back, Sound Barrier to make sure that Gale Force eSports walk away with the keep from this Web Weaver phase. A keep at least, because bottom is pushed up enough that they can make that rotation in and try to get this one too.
So this is where Superstars should be able to commit hard enough to not win the fight, but at least zone them off the keep. They don't have everybody here yet. Now they do. Gul'dan should have that damage output. Expulsion zone splitting Fan. They need to focus on the Fan. Oh my gosh, but the Aegis onto the backline. So much damage. Fan is now trying to get the retreat. And man, the double support keeping Mike Udall so close to death. And now everyone conveniently full HP.
And Superstars wanted to get the kill on Mike Udall, but he was pretty far in the backline. Everyone else focusing on Fan, who was separated. And they ended up getting no kills.
That was their moment, you know. Now they have to face the late game 16 double support. You know, Lucio, what he does at 16. There goes the Horrify, putting them away, not into the team. Saray just decides to, you know what, time's up. I'm going to look to force.
He does have Avatar. Dwarf Toss, Stormbolt. Knocked back, but it does hit. Expulsion Zone 2. Equinox is 1 kill. Lunara a 2nd. Superstars finds an opening.
Yeah, Gale Force here. Even though they got the 2 keeps, this is a huge moment. This could be a boss in turn-in play, but it's one of the boss turn-ins where you actually have to, no, so they're gonna not do this now. I don't think it's likely that they can get both on how slow they make this rotation. So you have 2 different boss plays you can make. You can either make the one where you get the boss, you all turn in directly after, and you can do that if you expect you to be able to get that before your opponents can delay a turn-in, which I think they'll get it so slow that it's reasonable for Gale Force to actually be able to delay. No, they're fine. So they did it perfect. They got enough damage to where they can actually get the boss, get the turn-in, and not fear a 5 versus 5 fight. Or you look to stagger the turn-ins, and then you all start the boss, and then the last person finishes the turn-in at the very end. That's like in an ideal world, the safest play, but very unrealistic to be able to get that opportunity all the time. Saray's going to full out invade this, not giving up anything here. Superstars, they've got the fight in them. At least when it comes to the drafting and the play from behind here and in this entire series, they aren't giving up, even being down here in the 3rd game.
And that might just be the answer to give them 1 game versus Gale Force. They're working on a keep here in the mid while everyone defends the boss and Web Weaver top. That gives Superstars 1 keep down. Still 2 down on Superstars base, but thankfully at least the bottom Web Weaver is maintaining those catapults so that they can siege here in top.
Oh man, Saray took a lot of damage there, pops the Avatar. He's healing up just fine. Fan dropped the ghouls. He's got so much value onto the backline right now. 20 still out of reach. Everybody's health bars on the side of Superstars is quickly falling to that Lunara poison. There goes the Horrify. They just want that 20, but they're not going to get it. Saray's going to be the first to fall. Faye quickly short after. Man, that was how quickly Gale Force can just press all their heroics, get the kills, and now that is 3-4 members going down.
Iacona had to walk into Frozen Tempest to try to hit that Ancestral, and it was at the same time as Avatar 2, so using both of those on the target meant that it wasn't there for somebody like Gul'dan who needed to be able to get out. There was no way to run away once all of the members of Superstars there were committed, and they took so much damage at the beginning of the fight that although Superstars found a moment, they found an opening, we thought maybe they could come back in the game. Gale Force eSports just turns around and will quickly win a team fight to give them the win in Game 3, taking out Superstars 3-0.
Can respect Goku's efforts at the very end. You know, fighting the good fight, the man versus the core. But in the end, Gale Force here sticking to their original strategies they displayed in week number 1, and they pay off here in week 2 versus Superstars. Not as clean as maybe week 1, you know, maybe not as refined, but still having that innovation, that what I'm calling now the Gale Force flavor on the drafts and playstyle this week.
Yeah, I mean, you do have to give it to Superstars too. Versus Teammate, Superstars had a whole week to look at those strategies, the double warrior, double support, and the Braxis holdout signature style of Gale Force eSports, and try to develop the answers. They just weren't the ones to do it. Who will?
Who will?
That's my question.
I don't know at this point. With Gale Force eSports looking like a new beast, there's very few teams in the North American scene that I really feel like can take Gale Force when they're truly at their best. And right now I think they're quickly filling the gap on their ability to improve and be one of the best teams in North America.
Yeah, and I do have to say that I think a lot of that comes down to solidifying roles a lot more for them. They have Equinox now playing Warrior, and there's no longer that, who's going to play Warrior this time, who ends up potentially being on somebody they don't feel comfortable with. It is a whole different Gale Force. Yeah. And I'm happy for them for that.
I agree. I think it was the first step they needed to make, and I'm glad they identified it, and it looks like they're following through with it, because we've seen teams time and time again be like, nah, we figured it out. We're just going to put this guy on this role, and we'll swap him, and that'll be fine. 2 weeks after that, they were just like, you know, because you look for the immediate result. Oftentimes, team do. It's not about the long game. It's more about what's going to win me this week versus 6 months from now, can I be the best?
And being able to keep their strategies going for Gale Force eSports ensures that they don't show anything too new, because remember, they haven't played Tempo Storm yet. And we know that Michael Udall just tweeted that he'll shave his head if they lose that match. So I want to make sure that everyone holds him to that if they do end up losing it, but that's not going to be this weekend. Meanwhile, let's check in with Crowan. Hey, buddy, congratulations. How you guys feeling? Did you feel like it would be a 3-0 over Superstars this week?
We were feeling pretty confident because we had a lot of prep this week. Didn't know it was going to be a 3-0, but I'm very proud of my team because we played really well. Shout out to Superstars. They're a good team. But, yeah.
Let's talk about Game 2. You guys ended up playing versus Sray's Sylvanas versus your comp.
We did.
Were you guys expecting that? What was the thought process once you guys saw that pick?
Honestly, we weren't expecting that. I think that it's a viable, I guess, strategy to try to counter that, because I guess if they watched last week, they would have known we ran that comp, and we just kind of split push, and we used the Zagara to push, and they were trying to match that, but it didn't end up working as, I guess, they expected, so I wonder if they really researched it enough and tried that out. But it was an interesting strategy, but yeah, props to them. They tried to counter it, but unfortunately it didn't work for them.
Good.
You guys have obviously made some pretty big changes between part 1 and part 2. I just wanted to hear from maybe your perspective, now pulling away from the Warrior and kind of focusing a bit more onto your backline role. Like, what feels different for you, you know, between week 1 and or part 1 and part 2? Because obviously it feels like Gale Force eSports is a completely different squad.
Yeah, so actually it's really interesting because I was actually on ETC was my most played hero in part 1. I had like 8 games ETC and it was like a 75% win ratio, and my Li Ming was 7 games and it had a worse win ratio than my ETC. So it's kind of funny, and like it worked out for us a little bit, but it was really inconsistent because we didn't really find our groove all the time with that sort of 4 flexes and a support sort of style. So while it was really good sometimes we did struggle, as we saw in Katowice for that tournament. And so after that we talked and we decided we should switch things up again and have Equinox on that main tank role, because having one consistent player in that role is really something that we thought would help us. And it's been working out so far, and I think I enjoy it. being on ranged more. Like tank, I thought was it was pretty fun for a while. I had my good times on ETC, but I'm ready to take back that ranged role.
Get back to it.
Yeah.
Especially the Leeming. We miss your Leeming.
Well, maybe I'll get to play it sometime.
Ooh, that'd be pretty cool. My question for you guys is about your preparation. We know how much you guys' preparation means for you. What is it like in a week like this where you have two different opponents because you guys are playing No Tomorrow on Sunday? Do you feel like your preparation suffers? And what can we expect from that matchup versus No Tomorrow?
I think obviously, say if you have a week where you only have one match versus week versus two, you have to do double the prep work. And so it's a lot harder because sometimes maybe you might focus on one too much. But I think our team did a good job of allotting time to prepare for both. And I think we can see tomorrow. I wonder how No Tomorrow is going to perform because they have been kind of inconsistent through this whole season. So I think we're pretty prepared against them. I don't want to say exactly what we're looking to do, but just be prepared for a good set.
Awesome. Well, good luck in that set for you guys tomorrow versus No Tomorrow. And before we let you go, do you have any shout-outs?
Yeah, of course. First of all, thank you to everyone watching. Thank you for casting, doing such an amazing job. This is, this is a dream come true for me to be able to do this, and so I just want to express my appreciation for everybody. Also, shout-outs to our sponsors, Gunners and Twitch. Shout-outs to my team. They all stream, well, besides Akaface, but I'll give Aka a special Twitter shout-out at Akaface Hots. I stream at twitch.tv/Crowan. Michael is just Michael Udall. Fan is SC2FanTV, and Equinox is Equinox Hots. And yeah, much love. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Crowan.